Welcome back to The Big Picture. We're talking about general aviation. My guest is Norm Eisler from the AOPA, and we're talking about the mystery of aviation to some of the people out there who haven't been involved in it before. It doesn't need to be a mystery. It's really pretty simple to get involved in aviation, and it's very rewarding if you do it the right way. There's a lot of little airports in Western New York, you know, Akron and Lancaster, you know, Geneseo. There's a variety of airports. If you're interested in aviation, it's as simple as getting in your car and going out to an airport, driving out to an airport, you know, asking somebody some questions.
I think one of the first things to make sure we say is, while it's challenging, it's fun.
Oh yeah.
It's very rewarding. There is a fair amount of knowledge to acquire, but as you step through, every time you take another step, you have the satisfaction of achieving that next step, whether it be that first landing that just feels right, frankly, just your first takeoff and the feeling, I'm flying this airplane. There's a lot of technical knowledge that goes behind it. I don't want to minimize that, but it is, again, a tremendous amount of fun, and you're learning about things that are applicable to other aspects of life as well, in terms of making good decisions, understanding weather, so you can make good decisions about the weather, and how to be in command of the aircraft.
I've often taken people up who've never been in small airplanes before, and you know, you have two sets of controls, and I've let them take over the controls, and you know, they're always a little bit nervous at the beginning. You know, I say, just here, just you know, feel what it's like, and you'd be surprised. It's always consistent how easy it is to control an aircraft compared to a car. Yeah. It's a lot easier to actually control an aircraft. People are very surprised at that.
It's a very natural thing, and you don't have narrow lanes, and you don't have another aircraft right next to you, hopefully, when you're doing that. I've taken over 130 kids for their first rides in airplanes, and I invite them to follow me on the controls and start talking them through, and then have my hands in my lap and say, oh, by the way, you're flying the airplane. And when they realize it, it's an exciting moment for them.
It's intuitive.
Yeah, but I think beyond that, we want to talk a little bit about how people can go about the formal process. And as you said, there's so many airports around here, so many flight schools at several of the airports, as well as flying clubs. So lots of opportunities to find places to learn to fly.
Now, what would be the first step? Somebody's out there, you know, saying, you know what, I'm kind of interested in that. How do I start?
Well, there's any number of ways to find those resources. Number one, just the yellow pages, look up flight school, or online. I guess we don't have yellow pages so much anymore. I'm dating myself. Google it.
Yeah.
You can also, I have to again give a plug here, the AOPA website, aopa.org, has a tremendous number of resources showing where flight schools are, flying clubs that you can contact, and how to get a hold of these people to start the process of formal learning.
And there's a couple of flying clubs in Western New York too.
There are indeed. There are several, and a flying club could be 3 people that have the aircraft together, share costs, and keep the overall cost of the operation down. There are also a couple of flying clubs in Western New York that have over 150 members each. And they share multiple aircraft, and again, share the expenses so that the cost per person is kept way down. It greatly reduces the cost of being involved in aviation compared to single ownership or renting an aircraft from the flight school after you've got your license. There's all different ways, and again, through research online, through the AOPA website, you're welcome to give me a call. I'll be happy to talk to people about their desires to get into aviation. All of these are different ways that we can go about it.
People are surprised when I talk about cost. I talk about acquiring an aircraft. You can get a good used aircraft that'll seat 4 people and perform decently. I mean, we're talking, it'll cruise at about 120 miles an hour, and it has decent range, and it's the same cost as buying a new car.
It may even be, depending on what you're shopping for, it may be less. It used to be the comparison of you know, a new SUV to an airplane, and I can tell you for sure you can spend a lot more on an SUV if you want to, if you try,
Insurance costs
than getting
are about
a good
the same as
four-seat
well.
airplane.
Yeah, people are surprised that it is that affordable.
Yep.
It's amazing what you can get once you do the research and get into it.
Now you're going to be weather dependent. If you start out as what's called a VFR pilot, visual flight rules, you're only going to be flying in good weather when you have good visibility. The next step from there is to get your instrument rating so you can fly in cloudy conditions where you don't necessarily have the visibility. But getting your VFR certificate allows you to start thinking about doing things like traveling from here to Cleveland for an afternoon because it's only a little over an hour out and a little over an hour back, and you can have a great time for lunch. I have to say Cleveland because my daughter is moving there in a couple of weeks, so we're looking forward to that trip.
Yep. Yeah, I know. It's amazing. I can fly in my airplane to New York City in about an hour, and it's not a big deal.
Right.
Or like you say, Cleveland is an hour. Washington, D.C. is about an hour away. It's almost like a time machine. Things that normally would take you 6-8 hours to drive, first of all, you're going on a straight line. You don't have to, follow roads. And the other thing is you're cruising at about 120 miles an hour, not worrying about traffic radar.
Your aircraft is a little bit faster than mine, but still that straight line has a tremendous advantage, enabling us to get from point A to point B very effectively and enjoying the view. You mentioned Washington, D.C. or New York. Flying from here down to the New York City area at 4,000 feet, you're flying over the mountains. It's just a gorgeous ride.
Yeah,
or
it is.
you can go straight east to Albany, turn right, fly down the Hudson Valley, which is also a beautiful ride.
Well, that's what I always liked about flying, is getting there is actually half the fun. It really is. It's amazing. There are some events that are coming up this summer that anybody who's interested in aircraft, it would be rewarding just to go and look.
There's a couple of really great ones coming up this year in the Western New York area. On July 13th and 14th, there's an air show down in Geneseo called the Greatest Show on Turf, because it happens to be a grass strip. And down there you're going to find lots of World War II aircraft. They specialize in that, but there'll also be a lot of airplanes flying in. Look for a bright yellow Cessna, a little small airplane with high wings. You'll find me next to it both days. I plan to be down there. There's also the Rochester International Air Show coming up August 24th and 25th. That's going to be at the Rochester International Airport, and they're going to have the Thunderbirds there this year, which is a fantastic flying display team from the United States Air Force, along with many others. So Rochester is going to feature current day military as well as some older warbirds, as well as current day aircraft. So lots to see there. And then the grand show of the year, it's not local, but Oshkosh, Wisconsin, Air Venture put on by the group out there, July 22nd through 28th. There'll only be about 10,000 airplanes and half a million people, world, right? Half a million people on the field at a time. It's a fantastic thing. And if you have questions about aviation, if you're interested in learning more about airplanes, learning more about becoming a pilot, flying, all of these shows provide tremendous opportunities to talk to vendors, other pilots, and so on. So you can get that opportunity to talk to those people and learn more. And feel free, at the two shows at least here in Western New York, please stop by and see me.
Well, if anybody takes anything away from this show, there's basically two things that I think you should think about. The first thing is that young people that you may know, take the opportunity to encourage them to consider a career in aviation, because time-wise, this is an opportunity that is unique.
It's just a fantastic career path.
There's so many openings. There's so many opportunities for young people to get involved in aviation at this time. It's one of those special times in history where everybody's retiring and there's a shortage of people coming in, and it's a tremendous career, high pay, good benefits, interesting job, and you should really consider exploring the opportunity.
I just want to point out, it's not only pilots. All the support teams that go along with aviation, the technicians that maintain the aircraft, the mechanics that fix the aircraft, the cabin crews that operate the airplane over and above the flight team. All of these careers are wide open and in great demand today.
Okay, very good. And the other thing to take away is if you're not a young person who's looking for a career, there's still a possibility that this would be a good recreational pursuit for people out there who are looking for something interesting to do with their lives, who aren't interested in fishing or golfing or, skiing.
You know, if you get a float plane, you can fly out, land in the middle of the lake, and just drop your line in right there.
Well, there's
so you could be into fishing too.
There's certain combination of benefits there. I guess you can put that. In that file cabinet. But you could take that away, that interest in a good recreational pursuit that's not as expensive as some people may imagine. It's worth pursuing. The mystery doesn't need to be there. You can ask the questions, you can get the information. Something you don't think about every day, but it's worth satisfying your curiosity.
Absolutely.
And again, the AOPA is a good source for all this information. And again, we'll put up your contact information on the screen. Anytime you're there to answer all the questions. I got to tell you, I've been a member of the AOPA, for probably 30 years or more, and it's a great organization. I mean, you really serve your members well.
I've been working with AOPA now for 2.5 years, but I actually joined in 1976. So I've been, it's a terrific organization supporting the pilots in the United States and around the world and helping us keep the freedom to fly available.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have for this big picture. I want to thank Norm Eisler for being my guest. And again, pursue this. If you have any interest in this exciting possibility, don't hesitate. Contact AOPA, contact Norm, ask the questions. I want to thank you for watching The Big Picture. As always, I want to thank you for watching WBBZ. This is your TV station. We want to cover things that interest you, so send in your thoughts, then send in your feedback and your suggestions. We'll see you next time on The Big Picture.